The Earth exploration vessel Horizon floated silently against the backdrop of stars. Inside the bridge, Captain John Miller sipped his coffee and stared at the main screen. It had been 3 months since they left Earth's orbit, and the crew was getting restless. Another quiet day in space, John said to himself. The door to the bridge slid open with a soft hiss. Lieutenant Susan Clark walked in, her eyes wide, and her steps quick. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with excitement. John set down his coffee mug. "What is it, Lieutenant?" Susan moved to her communication station and pressed several buttons. "I picked up a signal 20 minutes ago. It's not one of ours." The bridge grew quiet. Chief Engineer Peter Ross looked up from his station. Science Officer Lisa Gomes stopped typing and turned around. "Are you sure?" John asked. Susan nodded. "I've checked it 3 times. The signal is coming from just beyond Pluto's orbit." Lisa joined them at the communication station. "Can you show me the pattern?" Susan displayed the signal on her screen. It pulsed in a steady rhythm that was too perfect to be natural. "That's not random," Lisa said. "Someone made that." John stood up straight. "Alert the crew. We may have our first contact situation." Within minutes, the ship hummed with activity. Peter checked all systems to make sure the Horizon was ready for anything. Lisa prepared her scientific equipment. Security teams took their positions throughout the ship. "Signal is getting stronger," Susan reported. "Whatever is sending it, it's moving toward us." John nodded. "Put it on the main screen when you can." Hours passed as the crew waited. Then Susan's console lit up. "Captain, I'm getting a visual." The main screen flickered, and everyone gasped. A massive ship appeared on the screen. It was at least 100 times larger than the Horizon shaped like a giant silver star with glowing blue edges. "That's not from Earth," Peter whispered. The alien ship grew larger on the screen as it approached. It moved with impossible grace for something so big. "They're hailing us," Susan said suddenly. "The signal. I think it's a communication attempt." John took a deep breath. "This is what we trained for. Open a channel." Susan pressed a button. "Channel open, Captain." John cleared his throat. "This is Captain John Miller of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and friendship." The screen changed. An alien figure appeared. It had blue-gray skin, large eyes, and a small mouth. It wore what looked like a uniform covered in symbols. "Earth vessel," the alien said in perfect English, surprising everyone. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Zenithian Collective. We are surprised to find your kind in space." John blinked. "You know about us." "We have observed your planet from afar," Zixtal replied. "We did not expect primitive mammals to achieve space travel so quickly." Peter coughed to hide a laugh. Lisa elbowed him. "We've been exploring space for some time now," John said carefully. "We're honored to meet another intelligent species." The alien tilted its head. "Interesting. Our records must be outdated." It paused. "Captain Miller, with your permission, I would like to come aboard your vessel with a small team." John looked at his officers. They all nodded. "We would be honored, Ambassador," John replied. "We'll prepare a docking area for your shuttle." "Very good," Zixtal said. "We will arrive in what you call 1 hour. Please prepare for formal diplomatic contact." The screen went dark. Susan let out a long breath. "They speak English. How is that possible?" Lisa shook her head. "Some kind of translation technology, I guess." "Did you catch what he called us?" Peter asked with a grin. "Primitive mammals. That's going in my diary." John stood up. "All right, everyone. This is a historic moment for humanity. Let's make a good impression." He paused. "And Peter, try not to make any of your terrible jokes. We don't want to start an interstellar incident." Peter raised his hands. "No promises, Captain." As the crew prepared for the visitors, None of them could have guessed just how strange things were about to get. The mess hall of the Horizon had been quickly turned into a meeting room. Captain John Miller had ordered the tables pushed together and covered with the cleanest tablecloths they had. Coffee, water, and a plate of donuts sat in the center. "Are donuts really appropriate for first contact?" Lisa asked, eyeing the colorful pastries. John shrugged. "It's the best we've got. Chef was going to make something fancy, but we don't have time." A voice came over the ship's speakers. "Captain, the alien shuttle has docked," Susan reported. "They're coming through airlock 3 now." John straightened his uniform. "All right, everyone be on your best behavior." The doors to the mess hall slid open. Ambassador Zixtal entered first, followed by 3 other Zenithians. They wore shimmering robes with complex patterns that seemed to move. Each alien had a different skin tone: blue-gray, purple, pale green, and silver. "Welcome aboard the Horizon *", John said with a smile. "We're honored to host representatives of the Zenithian collective." The aliens looked around the room, their large eyes blinking slowly. Zixtal stepped forward. "This is your ceremonial chamber?" the ambassador asked. "This is our mess hall," John explained. "It's where we eat meals together." The aliens exchanged glances. "We expected to be taken to your command center or diplomatic quarters," Zixtal said. John gestured to the chairs. "We thought this would be more comfortable. Please, have a seat. Would you like some coffee or water?" The aliens sat down stiffly, their eyes fixed on the plate of donuts. "Are those defense mechanisms?" the silver-skinned alien asked. Peter laughed. "No, they're donuts. Food. They're sweet. Try one." Zixtal looked alarmed. "You wish us to consume your biological materials?" Lisa stepped in. "It's a human custom to share food with guests. It shows trust and friendship." The aliens relaxed slightly. Zixtal picked up a glazed donut and examined it. "Our scans show this contains large amounts of sucrose and fats," the ambassador said. "Your species consumes this regularly." "Only on special occasions," Lisa said quickly before Peter could answer. John cleared his throat. "So, Ambassador, tell us about the Zenithian collective." As Zixtal spoke about their vast empire spanning hundreds of star systems, Peter leaned over to the purple alien next to him. "Don't worry, we're just pulling your leg about the donuts," he whispered. The purple alien jumped up, knocking over its chair. "Physical threat detected," it shouted. The other Zenithians rose immediately. Zixtal made a series of rapid clicks and hisses. "Whoa, whoa," John held up his hands. "What's happening?" "Your officer threatened to remove our leg appendages," Zixtal said, voice cold. Peter looked confused. "No, I didn't. It's just an expression. It means we're joking." The alien stared at him. "Joking?" the green one asked. Lisa stepped forward. "It's a form of communication humans use. We say things we don't mean to create humor." "You deliberately communicate false information?" Zixtal asked. "For what purpose?" "To make each other laugh," John explained. "Laugh?" "To demonstrate." Peter told a simple joke about an astronaut and a Martian. When he finished, he, John, and Lisa laughed. The aliens flinched at the sound. "That noise is not a distress signal?" Zixtal asked. "No, it's how we show we're happy or amused," John explained. The Zenithians huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. When they turned back, Zixtal seemed more formal than before. "Captain Miller, we find your species very unusual. Your body functions, communication methods, and social customs are unlike any we have encountered." "Is that a problem?" John asked. "Not necessarily," Zixtal replied. "But to properly document your species, we invite you and your senior officers to visit our ship. We must register Earth in the Galactic database." John smiled. "We'd be honored, Ambassador." As the meeting wrapped up, the silver Zenithian carefully picked up a donut and put it in a small container. For scientific analysis, it explained when it noticed John watching. After the aliens left, Peter turned to John. "Did we just mess up first contact by offering donuts?" John sighed. "I think we're just getting started with the misunderstandings." The human team stared in awe as they stepped onto the Zenithian mothership. Captain John Miller, Lieutenant Susan Clark, Chief Engineer Peter Ross, Science Officer Lisa Gomes, and Security Officer Kevin Brown moved slowly, taking in the massive interior. The ceiling stretched up at least 100 feet. Strange lights pulsed along the walls, and the air smelled like cinnamon and metal. "This place is huge," Kevin whispered. Zixtal led them down a long hallway. "This is merely the entry sector of our vessel. The full ship contains 300 levels and houses 20,000 Zenithians." Lisa took notes on her tablet. "Amazing. How do you power such a massive structure?" "Quantum fusion," Zixtal replied. "Now we must process your registration. This way to the documentation center." The documentation center turned out to be a vast room filled with thousands of small cubicles. Zenithians sat at each one, working on screens that floated in the air. "Please wait here," Zixtal said, pointing to a small seating area. An hour later, the humans were still waiting. Peter paced back and forth. "What's taking so long?" he asked. Susan shrugged. "Probably just being thorough." Finally, Zixtal returned with a stack of transparent tablets. "We require you to complete these forms to register Earth in our database." John took the stack, which was almost 2 feet tall. "All of these. This is merely the preliminary documentation," Zixtal explained. "Once completed, we will move to the secondary registration phase." The humans exchanged worried glances. They sat down and began working through the forms. The questions were bizarre. Number of limbs per average citizen. Primary respiratory gas mixtures. Preferred ambient temperature range. Average sleep cycle duration. Kevin struggled with a particularly strange question. What does frequency of molecular shedding mean? Lisa looked over. "I think they want to know how often we shed skin cells." "How would I know that?" Kevin asked. As they worked, a Zenithian approached with more tablets. "These forms must be completed before you can enter Sector 7, it said. "What's Sector 7? Susan asked. "The area containing breathable air for non-Zenithians," it replied. "You are currently using emergency atmospheric accommodations. You must apply for standard breathing privileges." John looked confused. "We need permission to breathe. All biological functions must be properly documented and approved," the Zenithian stated. Kevin suddenly felt a tickle in his nose. Before he could stop himself, he sneezed loudly. Every Zenithian in the room froze. Alarms began to blare. "Unauthorized biological discharge," a voice announced over speakers. "Containment protocols activated." Red lights flashed. Clear barriers dropped from the ceiling, surrounding the human team. "What's happening?" John shouted to Zixtal, who stood outside the barrier. "Your crew member released biological particles without filing the proper forms," Zixtal explained, voice serious. "This is a severe breach of protocol." "He just sneezed," Lisa said. "It's an involuntary reflex." The Zenithians looked horrified. "You cannot control your biological emissions?" one asked. Within minutes, a team of Zenithians in protective suits arrived. They sprayed the area with a sweet-smelling mist. "Please remain calm," one said. "You must undergo decontamination procedures." The humans were led to a large chamber where they were scanned by beams of light for nearly an hour. Meanwhile, the ship's systems began acting strangely. Lights flickered, and doors opened and closed on their own. "What's happening to your ship?" John asked a technician. The Zenithian looked worried. "Unknown. Our network is experiencing unusual activity since your arrival." What they didn't know was that back on the Horizon *, the ship's AI assistant had connected to the Zenithian network to translate their language. In doing so, it had accidentally accessed restricted areas of their system. As the humans were finally released from decontamination, Zixtal approached with a new tablet. "I have unfortunate news," the ambassador said. "Based on your biological unpredictability, your species has been classified as Class 3 volatile. This will require additional forms." John sighed as another stack of tablets was placed in his arms. After hours of filling out forms, the humans were tired and hungry. Captain John Miller rubbed his eyes as he signed the last tablet. "Is that everything, Ambassador?" he asked Zixtal. The Zenithian checked something on a floating screen. "For now, yes. To improve relations between our species, we have arranged a formal diplomatic meal." John perked up. "That sounds great. We're starving." "We have studied your nutritional requirements," Zixtal said. "However, we would be honored if your chef could prepare some Earth cuisine to share. Cultural exchange through food is common in the Galactic Empire." John smiled. "We'd be happy to. Our chef, Maria Sanchez, is excellent." Back on the Horizon Chef Maria was excited about the opportunity. She gathered her best ingredients and equipment. "This is the most important meal I've ever made," she told Peter as she packed spices and tools. "What do you think aliens would like?" Peter shrugged. "They eat, right? Just make your best dishes." Maria decided on a menu showcasing Earth's diverse cuisines: fresh bread, pasta, grilled vegetables, fish, and a selection of desserts. She also packed several bottles of hot sauce, her special recipe. The dining chamber on the Zenithian ship was impressive. A long table made of a shimmering blue material floated without supports. Lights danced across the ceiling like stars. Zenithian officials sat stiffly as Maria and her assistants set up the human dishes on one side of the table. On the other side, Zenithian servers placed bowls of strange, colorful substances. "These look like gems," Lisa whispered, looking at the Zenithian food. As everyone sat down, Zixtal stood and made a formal speech about friendship between species. John followed with a short speech about Earth's hope for peaceful relations. "Now we shall share sustenance," Zixtal announced. The humans carefully tried the Zenithian food. It tasted like mint and honey with a texture like soft rice. "This is delicious," Susan said to a purple-skinned Zenithian next to her. The Zenithians approached the human food with scientific curiosity. They scanned each dish before tasting tiny amounts. "The texture of this bread is fascinating," one said. Everything was going well until Ambassador Zixtal reached for what looked like a small sauce dish. It was Maria's homemade habanero hot sauce, bright red and innocent-looking. "What is this red substance?" Zixtal asked, dipping a utensil into it. "That's hot sauce," John said, but his warning came too late. Zixtal had already tasted it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ambassador's blue-gray skin turned bright orange. Zixtal's eyes widened, and a high-pitched sound came from somewhere inside the alien's body. "Ambassador." John stood up, concerned. Zixtal jumped up from the table, still making the strange sound. Two other Zenithians rushed to help, but they seemed confused rather than worried. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship again. Biological distress detected in diplomatic sector. Emergency protocols activated. The room was suddenly filled with Zenithian medical staff in protective suits. They surrounded Zixtal, who was now turning from orange to purple. "What did you do to the ambassador?" demanded a silver-skinned Zenithian. "It's just hot sauce," Maria explained. "It contains capsaicin from peppers. It's spicy but harmless." "You intentionally consumed defensive plant toxins." The Zenithian looked shocked. "Yes, for flavor," Lisa said. "Many humans enjoy spicy food." During the confusion, Susan noticed something interesting. As the Zenithians moved around Zixtal, their skin changed colors slightly. The more agitated they seemed, the more their skin shifted to orange or red tones. "They communicate with color changes," she whispered to Lisa. "That's why they don't understand our facial expressions. Zixtal's color slowly returned to normal. The ambassador approached John with what humans would recognize as caution. "Captain Miller, your species consumes substances that would be considered weapons in most of the galaxy," Zixtal said. "This is unexpected." John wasn't sure if that was a good or bad thing, but at least no one was filling out forms about the incident. Yet, news of the strange humans spread quickly through the Zenithian Empire. 3 days after the hot sauce incident, a new ship arrived. This one was smaller but more impressive, with glowing symbols on its hull. "High Inspector Krelvon has arrived to evaluate your species," Zixtal informed Captain John Miller. "This is a great honor. Few new species receive such attention." John wasn't sure if this was good news. What exactly does this inspection involve? "The High Inspector will determine if Earth qualifies for membership in the Galactic Empire," Zixtal explained. "Do not worry. Just answer all questions truthfully." High Inspector Krelvon was taller than other Zenithians, with deep green skin and formal robes covered in moving patterns. A team of assistants followed, carrying scanning devices and tablets. "So these are humans," Krelvon said, examining the crew. "Fascinating. I have reviewed your preliminary data. There are anomalies I wish to investigate." The inspection began with simple questions about Earth's history, technology, and culture. Then it took a strange turn. "Our records indicate humans can suffer physical damage and continue functioning," Krelvon said. "Is this accurate?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, we can heal from injuries. Broken bones mend, cuts close up, even some internal organs can repair themselves." The Zenithians murmured among themselves, their skin shifting to yellow tones. "And you lose consciousness for hours each day?" Krelvon asked. "That's sleep," Peter explained. "All humans need it to stay healthy." Krelvon's skin darkened. "Your entire species becomes defenseless for hours every day, yet you survived. How is this possible?" Before anyone could answer, Lieutenant Ryan Murphy entered the room. He had just returned from a weekend fishing trip on Earth and wasn't aware of the inspection. "Hey, Captain," Ryan said casually, "you wouldn't believe the bass I caught. Nearly pulled me into the lake." Krelvon turned quickly. "You hunt water creatures. For what purpose?" Ryan looked confused. "For fun, mostly. Sometimes for food." "For fun." Krelvon's skin turned a bright purple that no one had seen before. "You pursue predatory creatures. For entertainment." The inspection team scanned Ryan intensely, as if seeing humans in a new light. "Tell me more about these hunting rituals," Krelvon demanded. As Ryan described fishing, camping, and hiking, the Zenithians became increasingly agitated. Their skin colors shifted rapidly. "And many humans keep smaller predator species in their living spaces," Lisa added, trying to be helpful. "We call them pets, dogs, cats, that sort of thing." This revelation caused even more commotion. One Zenithian assistant dropped a tablet. "You cohabitate with predators?" Krelvon asked. John nodded. "Many of us do. They're companions." The inspection continued with increasing focus on what the Zenithians considered human oddities. They were shocked to learn humans could break bones and recover, swim in open water, eat almost anything, and withstand extreme temperatures. During a break, Kevin turned on a tablet to watch a movie. A curious Zenithian looked over his shoulder. "What is this?" the alien asked, watching an action scene. "Just a movie," Kevin replied. "Fiction. Entertainment." The Zenithian called others over. Soon, a group of them were watching the film, their skins turning pale blue with what seemed like wonder. "You create simulations of events that never occurred?" Krelvon asked after learning about movies. "Yes, we call it entertainment," Susan explained. "Stories, games, movies. They're for fun." Krelvon stepped away to confer with the inspection team. Their discussion was intense, with rapid color changes rippling through the group. When Krelvon returned, the High Inspector's tone had changed. Captain Miller, we need to conduct a more thorough evaluation of your species, Krell said formally. The Galactic Council must be informed about humans as soon as possible. John wasn't sure if they had impressed or terrified the inspector. Either way, humanity had certainly made an impression. The Zenithian ships had been orbiting Earth for 2 weeks. During this time, they had set up communication relays to connect with their home systems. High Inspector Krell spent hours each day sending reports back to the Galactic Council. Captain John Miller and his crew were invited to stay on the main Zenithian vessel while the inspection continued. They were given comfortable quarters and allowed to explore certain areas of the ship. One morning, John was called to a meeting with Krell and Zixtal. When he arrived, both Zenithians were agitated, their skin flickering between colors. Captain Miller, we have made a significant discovery, Krell said. Our communication arrays have intercepted broadcasts from your planet. John nodded. Yes, we broadcast television, radio, and other signals. We've been doing it for decades. Krell tapped a screen, and a sitcom appeared. It showed a family arguing in a living room while a laugh track played. What is this? Krell asked. It's a TV show, a comedy, John explained. It's fiction, like the movies we discussed. Zixtal's skin turned a deep blue. Our analysts believe these are recordings of actual human interactions. John laughed. No, they're actors following scripts. None of it is real. The Zenithians exchanged glances. Their skin shifted to matching patterns of green and yellow. Captain, if you do not wish to share the truth, we understand, Krell said carefully. But we have analyzed thousands of these broadcasts and found them too complex to be simple entertainment. Before John could respond, Peter and Lisa were escorted into the room by Zenithian guards. Captain, you won't believe what we found, Peter said excitedly, then noticed the tense atmosphere. Is something wrong? Our friends think sitcoms are documentaries, John explained. Lisa looked confused, then understanding dawned on her face. Oh, they think we're hiding our true nature. Krell addressed the humans formally. After reviewing all data, the inspection team has concluded that humans are not a developing species as you claim. What? John asked. Your technology, resilience, social structures, and psychological simulations are too advanced, Krell continued. We believe Earth is either a colony of an elder race or a species disguising its true capabilities. John tried to explain. No, we're exactly what we appear to be. We're just humans. Krell skin turned a knowing shade of purple. Your humor again. Very well. We will respect your desire for privacy. Meanwhile, on another level of the ship, Peter and Lisa had accidentally discovered something important. While helping a Zenithian technician repair a data terminal, they had gained access to historical records. Look at this, Lisa whispered to Peter, pointing at ancient images on the screen. These look almost human. The records showed beings similar to humans, called the predecessors. According to the text, they had disappeared thousands of years ago, after teaching the early Zenithians space travel. Could we be related to these predecessors? Peter wondered. Back in the meeting room, John was still trying to convince the Zenithians that humans were not an advanced elder species in disguise. If we were so advanced, why would we still have wars, poverty, and disease? John asked. An excellent cover, Zixtal replied. Very convincing. A Zenithian rushed into the room, skin flashing urgent red patterns. High Inspector, the Galactic Council has convened an emergency session regarding the humans. Krell stood immediately. I must attend virtually. Please excuse me. After Krell left, John turned to Zixtal. This is getting out of hand. What does an emergency council session mean? Zixtal's skin turned a worried shade of gray. It means the highest powers in the Empire are now focused on Earth. The last emergency session was during the quantum rift crisis 3 centuries ago. John sighed. All because you think our TV shows are real. And your impossible biology. Zixtal added, "and your cohabitation with predators, and your consumption of toxins for pleasure." John realized how strange humans must seem to the aliens. No wonder they thought Earth was hiding something. 3 days after the emergency Galactic Council session, the humans were invited to a formal ceremony aboard the Zenithian mothership. Captain John Miller and his crew wore their best uniforms. They had no idea what to expect. The ceremony hall was massive, with high ceilings that seemed to show actual stars. Hundreds of Zenithians stood in ordered rows, their skin glowing with formal patterns. At the center was a raised platform, where High Inspector Krelvon waited with a group of elaborately dressed aliens. "Captain Miller, please approach," Krelvon announced. John walked forward, feeling the eyes of every alien on him. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding Earth," Krelvon said, voice echoing in the large space. "After much debate and consideration of all evidence, we have decided to recognize Earth not as a new civilization, but as a special autonomous region." John blinked in surprise. "What does that mean exactly?" A tall Zenithian with silver skin stepped forward. "It means, Captain, that Earth will not be subject to standard imperial regulations. You will be allowed to develop, in your own unique way." Ambassador Zixtal approached with a tablet. "This treaty outlines the terms. Earth will have a protective zone around your solar system. No imperial ships may enter without permission." "That sounds good," John said, still confused by their formal tone. "But why the special status?" Krelvon's skin shifted to a color John had never seen before, a mixture of blue, purple, and something beyond human perception. "We believe it is best for all parties," Krelvon said carefully. What Krelvon didn't say was that the Galactic Council was terrified. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and possibly related to the legendary predecessors. The Council had decided it was safer to give Earth space rather than risk antagonizing them. "We will assign a permanent ambassador to Earth," Krelvon continued, "someone who has shown special aptitude for understanding your species." A younger Zenithian stepped forward. "I am Vixenar. I have been studying human communication and have the rare trait of humor comprehension. I look forward to serving as liaison between our peoples." John shook hands with Vixenar, who had clearly practiced the human greeting. "We will begin cultural exchange programs immediately," Vixenar said with what might have been enthusiasm. "I am particularly interested in your movies and jokes." After the formal treaty signing, the humans were invited to a celebration. The Zenithians had prepared what they thought was Earth-style food, though it looked nothing like anything John had ever seen. "I must apologize for our initial misunderstandings," Zixtal told Susan as they watched Zenithians attempt to dance to Earth music. "We have not encountered a species like yours before." "No harm done," Susan replied. "We've learned a lot from each other." Across the room, Vixenar approached John with a serious expression. "Captain Miller, I have been practicing something important. A human joke. May I attempt it?" "Of course," John said, curious. Vixenar's skin turned a concentration pattern of deep blue. "Why did the human cross the space lane?" "To get to the other asteroid." The joke was terrible, but John laughed anyway. Several nearby Zenithians flinched at the sound. "Was that correct?" Vixenar asked anxiously. "It was perfect," John assured him. As the celebration continued, Peter found Lisa analyzing something on her tablet. "What are you working on?" he asked. "Looking at those records of the predecessors," she whispered. "The similarities to humans are remarkable. I think we should investigate this once we get home." Peter nodded. "Either way, we've made quite an impression on the Galactic Empire." From that day forward, humans became known throughout the galaxy as the strangest, most unpredictable species anyone had encountered. Zenithian scientists began studying human comedy as a potential advanced technology. Human resilience became legendary. And on Earth, bureaucrats started using Zenithian paperwork procedures as punishment for minor crimes, There was no faster way to make someone regret parking illegally than making them fill out a 50-page Zenithian registration form.